Hello, my name is Orestes Vratimos and I'm doing Lab 2 presentation line of charts for the course of Physics 2 2212. So Lab 2 is similar to Lab 1, besides the fact that we'll be using a more enlightened and realistic way to determine the electric force on the charge tapes, more specifically the line of charges model. So the procedure is the same: determine the amount of excess charge on the tape and the interaction between the two tapes. We're going to place one tape on top of another one and then abruptly separating them, and as a result charging both tapes. So we observe the interactions between two charged U tapes and determine the forces exerted on the tapes at a measured distance apart. We're going to use three laws here, as we're going to use the second law of Newton since the momentum of B is not changing and the net Y component is zero. We're going to use Coulomb's law for our computations, and finally both tapes exert equal and opposite forces on each other due to the third law of Newton. We assume that each U tape has the same net charge because the tapes have the same material dimensions and they were charged the same way. We also ignore air resistance on a moving object. Here we have our glossary representations with the constants, our measured values, the fraction created in Lab 0. We also have a given fraction. We have the creation of the tapes, and we'll also calculate the electric field and the electric forces. We put the right scale so that we can view the arrows representing the force vectors. We iterate through each piece of charge. We calculate the electrical field, the electric force, and finally on the bottom we create the two arrows representing the electric force vector and the gravitational force vector. Here we have our visualization providing the magnitude of both forces, and we have the green vectors which represent the electrical field, the yellow vector representing the gravitational force, and the white vector representing the electrical force. So here we have our calculations from Lab 1 using the linear density and the law of the three, finding the mass, have all the constants, and then we know that the F electrical force is equal and opposite to the gravitational force, and we do all the calculations using Coulomb's law to find the actual charge. And we see that from Lab 1 to Lab 2, the charge value is pretty different. We see that the value of the line charge model is almost double the value of the point in the first lab with the point charge model. So the point charge model assumes that all charges are in the center of the tape, whereas in the line charge model, the charges are distributed along the length of the tape, and that's why they're so different. And the fact that the line charge model presents the phenomenon in a more realistic way, it therefore offers a value which is closer to the true value. Thank you very much for your attention.